this is a film in which you've had to balance iconic recordings that most people around the world have probably heard playing once or twice, with those required for certain scenes in the film where you didn't have music. Could you talk about the challenge of actually bringing those two together and creating what we end up seeing on the screen?
When I first started on the film, it was very early on. It was sort of in the pre-production phase, and there was all sorts of meetings about the script and about how the film could be made, because at that stage nobody actually knew that the script. It sort of was still in. It was almost there, but just things were still being changed around a bit. So, and certain scenes would come and go, and you sort of think, well, how on earth can we do that? You know, how can we create that? Would it be playback? Would we play that back on set, or would Rami be up for trying to perform that? And so we sort of went through and worked out. But then soon after that, we were told that actually Queen were completely behind the film, which was great news. And not only were they behind the film, but we could go to the studio and have a listen through all their material and see what we could use for the film. So obviously that was a good day at work, to go to Queen's studio and listen to all their multi-tracks and see what we could use. It became apparent that actually they have a huge archive. They've been multi-track recording their sort of concerts since the beginning of time, really, since they started out. They'd got recordings from 1974 that were sort of 16-track recordings that sounded great, that sounded really good. So that was a good start. Not only did they have that, but they also had, many. We'd say, okay, we need a live version of Keep Yourself Alive, and they say, okay, well, we have about sort of 22 versions of that. Which one do you want? And so then it sort of became down to more of a point of saying, well, which one would you like to be in the film? And so that was obviously, once we knew that they were behind us, that did make things a lot easier. And then, then we started mapping out what recordings we have, what we didn't have, and then how we could do the film from there.
And I could be wrong in this, but I read somewhere that there was a degree of manipulation of the actual existing recordings in order to sort of ensure that Rami didn't sound that different.
Yeah, well, that was one of the issues, was because obviously there were scenes in the film where we knew that there's no way there's a Freddie Mercury recording exists of that scene, so that would need to be created. And then discussions were, well, is Rami going to have a go? Should we get someone that sounds like Freddie? And that's where we got a Freddie sound-alike to sort of help out on some of those scenes as well. But then we started thinking, but then that's three people. I don't know if there's ever been a lead character in a film before that's had three people doing their voice. So that's when myself and Nina started talking about different ways of how we could try and make these three different voices one person. So, but yeah, you want to speak about?
Yeah, so I mean, basically, we used Freddie obviously as much as we could in the film. Rami did such an amazing job at recreating the physicality and the performance of Freddie and holding the audience in his hand on stage as all the way through the film. So we wanted to use Freddie's voice as much as we could, but obviously it always needed to feel like it was coming out of Rami's mouth. I mean, and essentially what we're doing, which is something that is quite difficult in sound, is kind of doing a revoice. You know, you're revoicing your main character, at least while they're singing. So it was very important to us that we made that feel as authentic and real as possible. In order to do that, we recorded, obviously Rami was singing for his life on stage every time he was performing, particularly through Live Aid and obviously the other concerts in the film. But so we had all the recordings of that, and we also got Rami into Goldcrest and Abbey Road and had him re-recording all manner of kind of breaths and lip smacks and inhales and mic blows and all those kind of things. And it was very detailed editing, really, to get to use little pieces of Rami in between the sung vocals and make sure that they blended together and all felt like one cohesive voice coming out of Rami's mouth on stage, and kept, because it was just so crucial at that point, particularly during Live Aid, such a long sequence, that you never ever felt that pushed away from him. You always felt like his performance was building through, and that was Rami singing as Freddie. Rami had done such an amazing job with the physicality of it all, so we just needed to do the same with his voice, really.